Brahma Chelani joins me at this moment. Brahma, good to have you on the show. Tell us how you're reading what's happened over the last few hours. Pretty dramatic. 5 o'clock, Donald Trump tweeting that there's a ceasefire. 6 o'clock, India formally backing that. At 9 o'clock, signs that Pakistan could have violated the ceasefire. A little after 10, signs that maybe, just maybe, Pakistan is perhaps going to have to adhere to the ceasefire conditions, even though these drones also have been spotted. How are you? Are we getting mixed signals, and how do you see that?
This whole ceasefire thing leaves many questions unanswered. First, it's not a ceasefire agreement on paper. It's a ceasefire agreement orally. So we don't know what the conditions are and whether Pakistan will hold its word. And the second thing that is worrying is that this ceasefire framework brokered by the US creates a false equivalence, equating the victim of cross-border terrorism with the perpetrator. There was no effort whatsoever in the US intervention to get Pakistan to agree to dismantle its terrorist infrastructure. But there is a more fundamental question that India had the upper hand militarily. It had the military momentum. And the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, did India snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? Is this a repeat of what happened in 1948 when the Indian Army was marching toward victory and then suddenly we agreed to a ceasefire?
You answer that question. You see, I'll get Gaurav also to weigh in on that, but you answer that question. Do you believe, and I'm going to ask my producer to keep the sound of those explosions a little low so that we can hear very clearly, but are you saying that we have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory? Isn't that a bit excessive, particularly given that it's just been a few hours? Maybe we don't want to go down an escalate. We don't want to go up an escalatory spiral. That's as simple as that.
Well, first, in modern world history, I have never come across a very short military campaign. This campaign by India lasted only 3 days. 3 days. In 3 days, no military campaign can achieve any real objective. The Prime Minister laid out what India's objectives were. He publicly laid out those objectives. And in 3 days, we decided to terminate this military campaign without having accomplished any of those objectives. Even though as the stronger side, India was in a position to escalate or de-escalate at a time of its choosing. Yet, we did not bring a superior military power to bear on Pakistan in a way to impose high punitive costs and to ensure an end to Pakistan's proxy warfare. Just when we had degraded Pakistan's air defenses, we had damaged or destroyed some of their key military bases, instead of pressing home that advantage, we decided to hang our boots. Why? Why did we do that?
Okay, why? Let me put that to Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, you've heard Brahma Chelani rather controversially they're suggesting we've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. I think defeat and victory are two very strong words here. But what he seems to effectively be suggesting is, why the ceasefire? I mean, there are those who are mystified. What suddenly changed in the last 12 hours to go from an aggressive approach towards retaliating to Pakistan, blasting its air bases, to at 5:30 or 6 in the evening, India saying that we have decided to agree to a ceasefire? What's changed? Why did this happen?
So, Rajdeep, this was a very limited campaign. When the Prime Minister spoke, I'm not defending the government. I'm just trying to make the limited point that I completely agree with Professor Brahmachalani at the onset that India should have pressed home the point. India should have decimated other air bases in Pakistan and, of course, some of their core headquarters. But then we should have been equally ready to then take some pain. If we had, for example, hit the 4 core headquarters in Lahore, they could have hit one of our core headquarters, whether in Srinagar, where they sent across that signal that their drones came pretty close. They could have hit any of our locations in Punjab or in Rajasthan. Are we ready for that? Are we ready for a full-scale escalation right now?
So we
when
were
our
not.
economy is doing very well? No, my point is we are ready. But have we sent across that message? For the first time in India's history, battling terrorism, you've hit Bahawalpur, you've hit Muridke, you've hit Sialkot. You've sent across that message. Each time Pakistan tried to do something, you were one up. You've hit him on 11 of his military bases. You've actually humiliated the Pakistan army.
Let me turn it
humiliated
around.
the Pakistan
but
army.
let me turn it around. That we had a limited objective.
Yes.
And the limited objective was to send out a signal to Pakistan that if we want, we can come as far as Bahawalpur, Muridke, Lahore. We can come to the heart of Punjab, and we can, we can take the battle there. Having done that, we also know the costs of an escalatory spiral, and therefore we pulled back. Now, Brahma, maybe that's rationality. Maybe we've chosen a more pragmatic approach. At a time when we want to focus, that we were being led up an escalatory spiral, perhaps some thought by Pakistan, and many believe Pakistan goaded by China, we didn't want to go down that route. That's why we agreed to pull back. We've sent out the message and then pulled back.
A military campaign is a serious operation. There's nothing like demonstration that we can reach Bahawalpur or we can reach Rawalpindi. No military mission is ever launched with such demonstrative objective. In military strategy, you launch a mission with clear objectives. The Indian objective, as laid out by the Prime Minister, was to end Pakistan's proxy warfare. Have we come anywhere close to that? Let us be clear. The Pakistani military generals are going to portray the outcome of Operation Sindoor as a victory for the Pakistani state. Make no mistake about it. They have always looked at India as a weak-willed nation. They have tried to make up the power asymmetry with India through stronger political will. And in the current battle of rival political wills, they will show that they triumphed over India. The narrative in India...
But let them, if I may intervene, let them show that. The truth of the matter is we are an economy which is growing. They are an economy which needs to go to the IMF for bailouts. Look, at the end of the day, Brahma, maybe we've taken a conscious choice. Maybe we also wanted to get out of a situation. Maybe the US gave both sides an opportunity to get out of a situation that could have got spiraled out of control. I had Fareed Zakaria on the show last night. He said, look, this could lead to a misadventure or a miscalculation because you can't trust what the Pakistanis will do in desperation. So maybe we've decided, okay, we've sent out a message. This was never intended to be a large-scale military operation.
Well, Rajdeep, there are costs to be paid even if you have superior military power. And India is paying costs already. International investor confidence has been badly shaken. International tourist arrivals to India have come to a stop. And the economic costs, the invisible economic costs of Operation Sindoor will continue for some months. They can't be overnight. You can't change overnight that, okay, today we were fighting, tomorrow we are at peace, and therefore the international investor community can be happy with that situation. Let's be clear about what we were willing to bear with. We were willing to bear with some risks and with some costs. We did call Pakistan's nuclear bluff not once. We did it with Balakot airstrike. We did it with Operation Sindoor. We should have pressed home the advantage that we had secured by degrading Pakistan's air defenses. That left the field open for us to inflict punitive costs on the Pak military. Having done the groundwork to inflict costs, then abruptly we have withdrawn and terminated the campaign. As I said, never before in modern world history
No,
has a
maybe
nation-
maybe it wasn't as let me be. Was it as one-sided as you're suggesting? Because the truth of the matter is, if India sent out a firm message to Pakistan that we can hit you all the way into Punjab, Pakistan also wasn't necessarily taking a step back. And that's the danger, that then you get onto an escalatory spiral, which maybe with China goading Pakistan, could get us into dangerous unknown territory. We hadn't even mobilized the military as yet. So when you say military operation, there wasn't, I mean, this wasn't a hot war that was going on. That's my point. We have stopped it at a particular time. I mean, Brahma is calling it a military operation. Yes, Brahma, very quickly, and then Gaurav.
Well, if our intent was to send a demonstrative signal to Pakistan and end this operation in 3 days, we would have been better off had we not undertaken Operation Sindoor. Would have been much better for us economically and diplomatically had we not pressed ahead with Operation Sindoor. But once you launched it, once you launched a military mission, you had to take it to its logical conclusion. Terminating it.
No, but
But
would have been
maybe,
that
maybe
logical conclusion?
what was the end game? You see, I'm
What
not
would have
able
been the
to.
end
What
game?
was the end game? I don't think we had a clear end game in mind, because the Pakistanis were provoking us night after night. We were retaliating, but there was no end game after the initial targeting of Muridke and Bawalpur. That's my point. You were not getting into you didn't want to get into a warlike situation.
So there are two things.
So where is victory and defeat here?
No, so there is victory in every which way. You've decimated his air defenses. You've targeted 11 of his points. But if I may, Professor Chilani, and I completely agree with you on all your points. My limited point is there are other ways to carry out punitive strikes against Pakistan, and especially the Indus Waters Treaty that will still be kept in abeyance. Now, that is one big stick that we will continue to wield against Pakistan as a middle riparian state. We will give them water in terms of without information. I know we cannot stop it, but we'll start development project that will continue to help us build more electricity, get more electricity out of it, harness that more for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. There are long-term steps that we will continue to take to deter Pakistan, is my understanding of the situation.
So you don't think you don't agree with Brahma's basic premise that we have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory? Correct?
Personally, I completely agree with him in terms of we should have continued to hit till the time Pakistan is actually Pakistan submits, to accepting defeat.
Okay,
However, if we have to remain on the path to becoming the third largest economy, we will have to prioritize, and we may have to prioritize now, because otherwise China will have the advantage, which I would never want China to have that advantage.
Before I go to the other guest, one final word from you, Brahma. I had Fareed Zakaria on my program who made an important point. We are the larger country. We have much more at stake. We are an economy on the up. Pakistan is a basket case. The military there needs legitimacy. In the asymmetry of power, we were well ahead of them. But therefore, countries when they have the moral advantage, also need to take a strategic call. And maybe India, with a bit of help or nudge from America, took that call. I mean, why call it victory and defeat? Why not just simply say that India took a considered strategic call?
India, under successive governments, has had a tendency to adopt half-pregnant approaches.
True.
Biologically, there's nothing like half-pregnancy. But India has, under successive governments, believed in half-pregnant approaches. And you have seen this now. First, the Indus Waters Treaty. International law is clear. If one party consistently violates it, or there's a fundamental change of circumstances, the other side can suspend or withdraw from the treaty. India chose neither to suspend nor withdraw from the treaty. Instead, it has kept the treaty in abeyance, a term not defined in international law. In other words, again, a half-pregnant approach. Operation Sindoor will also go down in history as a half-pregnant approach of India.
Okay, you've called it a half-pregnant approach, controversial, contentious, Brahma. Professor Brahma Chelani, appreciate you joining us at this moment.